powered by Alienware. Elevate your game with rapid-fire, tear-free graphics on the new Alienware 25 gaming monitor.
In the world of Diablo, angels and demons fight for control in the eternal conflict. Let's just say the world isn't full of sunshine and rainbows. So stay a while and listen. I'm Jason with Curse, here to bring you some of the most brutal murders in the Diablo franchise. Zoltan Kulle was one of the founding members of the legendary Haradrim. He hailed from the Aeneid clan, one of the major mage clans who specialized in transmutation and similar arts. Since the Haradrim's goal was to defeat the primevals who had been banished to Sanctuary, soul stones were created to bind the evils away. Kulle was well suited to handling such magical objects, and so they were entrusted to him. However, Kulle became obsessed with their power. In the following years, Kulle would become more and more wary of the high heavens and the eternal conflict, believing that humanity may be scoured from existence. And to this end, he established a hidden archive where he would experiment in peace, away from prying eyes. His goal was to create a special soul stone, the Black Soul Stone, that would be capable of binding both servants of hell and agents of heaven. The Black Soul Stone would also be capable of unleashing the Nephilim power dormant in all humans, which would allow humans to fight in any conflict concerning angels or demons. Naturally, this included increasing Kulle's own power as well. In his experiments, Kulle lured unsuspecting and unwilling mages into his archives and subjected them to gruesome displays of power in an attempt to distill the power of the Nephilim. As time went on, his power grew and grew until he could reasonably claim the title of the most powerful mage in all of Sanctuary. The Haradrim became aware of his ambitions but feared that they would draw the ire of heaven and hell. To prevent this, they assaulted Kulle in his archives, and despite his best efforts, he was eventually captured. However, Kulle had become immortal by this point, and the Haradrim feared what he could accomplish. And to this end, they separated his head from his body, locking his body away in his shadow realm. They then sealed the locks to the archives with vials of his blood and hid his head far away in Dalgur Oasis. Marius is met when he seeks shelter in the rogue monastery from the horrifying demons that walk the earth after Diablo takes control of Aiden. Unfortunately for poor Marius, the very source of the evil came to the monastery in the form of the Dark Wanderer. Once inside, the Wanderer becomes unstable and demons begin to erupt from every crevice, with many appearing from otherwise normal torches and flames. The demons overwhelm the shelter and kill everyone except for Marius and the Wanderer. They then travel east over the mountains as Diablo seeks his brother's tomb. Against his better judgment, Marius enters the tomb alongside Diablo. They confront the archangel Tyrael, who stands in front of the crazed body of Tal Rasha, which has Baal's soul stone embedded in his ribcage. The tortured soul pleads with Marius to release him, and in doing so, Marius releases Baal into the world once more. Tyrael then instructed Marius to descend into the depths of hell to destroy Baal's soulstone once and for all to repent for his actions. After some time, Marius reached the designated Temple of Light and descended only to find the prime evils opening the portal. He witnessed the Wanderer's final transformation into Diablo, which frightened Marius so much he couldn't make himself go through with it. In failure, he was arrested in Westmarch and confined to an asylum where he began to carve his experiences into the floor of his cell with his own fingernails. His mind had been broken, and his body had also been ravaged with exposure to Baal's soul stone. One day, a cloaked visitor arrived at his cell, Tyrael. After relating his account to the angel, he was assured everything would be fine so long as he handed over the soul stone. Marius obliged, only to discover that it was not Tyrael that had visited, but Baal. Baal then killed Marius and set the asylum ablaze. Wirt was a child born in Tristram and could usually be found getting himself into trouble, often participating in shady dealings. His life became much more difficult, however, when the darkness settled over King Leoric. During this time, he was stolen away during a demon raid on Tristram right out of his mother's arms. They took him and other children that had been captured to the depths of the Tristram Cathedral only to be used in twisted rituals and tortured. Eventually, Wirt was rescued by Griswold, but the damage from the torture left lasting marks. His wounds were far too severe for the town healer to treat, which cost Wirt his left leg. The events never left Wirt, who was now found to be bitter and gloomy, as if a cloud of darkness was held over him. This left his mother distraught in the tragedy that had befallen her son, and she passed away soon afterwards, allegedly from a broken heart. Wirt set his mind to make as much money as possible and then leave Tristram for good. This would see him selling goods to the adventurers braving the cathedral. Aiden and party would come along shortly afterwards to clear out Diablo and return peace to Tristram. But Tristram seems always ready for more tragedy. Eventually, Aiden left Tristram as the Dark Wanderer, and as he departed, demons would invade and descend upon the townsfolk. With no warriors or defenders to speak of, the result was a massacre. Poor Wirt was among the first of the victims to fall. Queen Isilla was once the beloved wife of King Leoric. She was well known for her incredible beauty, and Leoric was so enthralled and in love that he once gifted her 1,000 dresses in the lovely pink color. But this was not to last, as Leoric would soon fall under the influence of Diablo. As Leoric began to behave more wildly and erratic, his advisor Lazarus began to whisper in his ear and have more influence over his actions. Lazarus knew what had happened, but he had also gathered quite a bit of unwanted suspicion from the knights, priests, and townsfolk of Tristram. It was not long before Lazarus convinced Leoric of an imminent plot from Westmarch to overthrow him, and so many of Leoric's trusted knights were sent away to a war they could not win. The priests were sent as emissaries to far-flung kingdoms, but perhaps the most grievous of all, Lazarus managed to convince Leoric that his beloved wife, Queen Isilla, was attempting to betray him. Leoric imprisoned her in the dungeons for a time, and from her journal we see that she was only fearful for her 2 sons, despite knowing her death was imminent. In her last moments, she calmly maintained her innocence to her husband, but he would have none of it. She was unceremoniously beheaded by guillotine while Leoric and Lazarus watched. Following her beheading, however, her remains did not decay as evidence of a pure soul wrongly executed. Angels and demons have long fought in the eternal conflict. Many instances of full-scale war exist, but a battle near the Pandemonium Fortress was put into a different media, a video rather than gameplay or books, Diablo 3 Wrath. It featured the Angeris Council unified while Malthael still a member, fighting against a demonic horde led by Diablo. The angelic host manages to push back the demons, retreating into the caves. As the council approaches, they decide to regroup, but Imperius alone charges forward. Down the twisting tunnels he flies until he reaches a chamber filled with the corpses of his fallen angelic brethren. The doors shut behind him as Diablo himself manifests on the other side of the room. Cut off from reinforcements, Imperius gathers his rage and attacks Diablo. During this skirmish, Diablo taunts Imperius. Blinded by his rage and hatred, he is wounded by Diablo, who is quickly gaining the upper hand. And just as all seems lost, the door is cleaved in two, and the rest of the council pours into the room, making quick work of the Lord of Terror, easily binding him to a stone pillar. It is here that the council deliberates. Imperius clearly still wants to kill Diablo, but level heads suggest that they could simply imprison him, and that if he was slain he could simply reincarnate in the Black Abyss. Diablo proceeds to taunt his captors, and Imperius, blinded by rage and humiliated by rescue, cleaves Diablo and the stone behind in half, covering the council in demonic blood. Diablo's final words spill from his body.
So much for your unity. The trap at last is sprung.
If you're interested in content like this, keep an eye out here for more, and be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Check out DiabloFans.com for other Diablo-related information. I'm Jason with Curse saying thanks for watching, and enjoy the game.
Powered by Alienware. Elevate your game with rapid-fire, tear-free graphics on the new Alienware 25 gaming monitor.